mute.
Right, we're ready to live stream.
Okay. Good evening, colleagues, and welcome to the first virtual meeting of the Council during the coronavirus pandemic. In the absence of the Mayor, as Deputy Mayor, I will be the person presiding over the Council meeting today. Owing to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and government guidance issued to stay at home, it has not been possible to hold meetings of the Borough Council in person. The Council has therefore made arrangements under the Coronavirus Act 2020 to hold this Council meeting virtually. It is these regulations that enable the Council to hold this meeting of the Borough Council without any of us being physically present in the Council chamber. This meeting of the Council will remain accessible to the public as it is being streamed live on YouTube, which will be available for repeated viewing afterwards. Therefore, elected members, officers and the wider public are able to follow the law and government guidance with regards to staying at home and protecting our NHS whilst ensuring decision making and the democratic process continues. I would like to remind members that the Code of Conduct still applies to virtual meetings and the same procedures undertaken in a physical meeting still apply, for example, waiting for the chair to give permission to speak. I would ask members to please try to limit disturbances wherever possible. After the introductory roll call, all members and officers should please mute their microphones to reduce feedback and background noise, which will make the meeting easier to follow. Please ensure mobile phones and other electrical devices, TVs, tablets, and so on are on silent during the meeting. The Strategy and Democratic Support Officer will mute microphones as necessary if there is background noise in order to assist members. Members should indicate that they wish to speak by physically raising their hand or by using the raise hand function and being invited to speak by the chair as usual. When members do speak, I would ask that they identify themselves for the benefit of any members of the public or press who are observing the meeting. Voting will be managed by the Acting Head of Legal Services and Strategy and Democracy Officers minuting the meeting. If an item requires a vote, the Acting Head of Legal Services will read out the name of each member in turn in alphabetical order and ask them how they wish to vote. Each member will need to unmute their microphone before speaking. Once a member has given their vote, then microphones should be muted again. The Acting Head of Legal Services will record the outcome of the voting and announce it at the meeting. If an item does not appear to be contentious, I will ask members whether they agree or disagree or wishes to abstain. In the situation where there is a dissenting voice, the vote will be taken. I will now ask each member to confirm their attendance by undertaking a roll call and ask all participating members to please reply present. Can members please unmute their microphones now? Councillor Amor.
Present.
Councillor Anglin.
Present.
Councillor Atkinson.
Present.
Councillor Bell.
Present.
Councillor Boyack. Councillor Boyack is here, I've seen him. Councillor Brady. Councillor Brady? No. Councillor Carter?
Present.
Councillor Dean?
Present.
Councillor Dick is, I have apologies for Councillor Dick. Councillor Dix?
Yeah.
Councillor Dixon?
Present.
Councillor Donaldson?
Present.
Councillor Duncan?
Present.
Councillor Ellison?
Present.
Councillor Flynn?
Present.
Councillor Foreman?
Present.
Councillor Francis?
Present.
Councillor Gibson?
Present.
Councillor Hamilton?
Present.
Councillor Hay? Councillor Hetherington?
Present.
Councillor Keegan?
Present.
Councillor Kilgour?
Present.
Councillor Leask, I have apologies for. Councillor E. Malcolm,
Apologies, Chair.
Councillor N. Maxwell,
Present.
Councillor N. E. Maxwell,
Present.
Councillor McCabe,
Present.
Councillor McHugh,
Present.
Councillor J. Milburn. Jeff, I've seen you. Councillor Jeff Milburn. Councillor P. Milburn.
Present.
Councillor Peacock.
Present.
Councillor Perry. I have apologies for. Councillor Porthouse.
Present.
Councillor Proudlock.
Present.
Councillor Punchin. Councillor Purvis.
Present.
Councillor Roberts.
Present.
Councillor Robertson.
Present, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Sewell.
Present.
Councillor Smith.
Present.
Councillor Stevenson.
Present.
Councillor Strike.
Present.
Councillor Taylor.
Present.
Councillor Thompson.
Ross, we need to mute.
Present.
Councillor Traynor.
Present.
Councillor A. Walsh.
Present.
Councillor M. Walsh.
Present.
Councillor Welsh.
Present.
Councillor West.
Present.
As I say, I've had apologies from Councillor Perry, from the Mayor, Councillor Dick, and also from Councillor Eileen Lisk. I'm sure we all wish her well because Councillor Eileen Lisk is recovering from COVID and was unable to come to the meeting today. So we send her our best wishes. The first item of business is declarations of interest. We've received notification of 3 declarations. Declarations have been received from Councillor McCabe, Councillor Ellison and Councillor Boyack. Councillor McCabe, would you please declare your interest?
I'd like to declare an interest in item 7, the Licensing Act 2003. It's a statement of policy 2021 to 2026, and I hold a dual taxi licence in the borough. As this is a personal interest and not a disclosable pecuniary interest, I'm able to remain in the meeting. I'll be able to participate in any discussion and participate in any vote on this matter. And that is my declaration. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boyack, would you like to declare your interest?
I think we may have lost him of a slight moment.
Has he managed to disappear? I think the solicitor has a statement from Councillor Boyack.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Boyack did make a declaration, or certainly made it clear that he intended to make a declaration. Obviously, if he's not in the meeting, he doesn't need to make it, but should he manage to reconnect, his declaration is this: I would like to declare an interest as father to Councillor Tracy Dixon, currently the leader of the council, in respect of item 3. This is a personal interest and not a disclosable pecuniary interest. Therefore, I am able to stay in this meeting of council, participate in any discussion and participate in any votes taken in regard to the election of the leader of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Rumney. I have a declaration of interest from Councillor Ellison. Would you please declare your interest?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. A personal interest in item 6, the Treasury Management Review as Vice Chair of Epney School. This is a personal interest, not a disclosable pecuniary interest, and I'll be able to remain in the meeting of the council, participate in the discussion and vote on any matter in this.
Thank you, Councillor Ellison. Does anyone now wish to make a verbal declaration? Okay, thank you.
Chair, just, sorry, Madam Mayor, just on the declaration that Councillor Ellison's put in, I've only recently been elected Vice Chair of St Matthew's School. I didn't realise it was disclosable. So I declare it just in case.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. The next business is Mayor's communication. It's my sad duty to inform members of the death of Councillor Alan Smith. Alan served as councillor for the Felgate and Edworth ward from May 2012 onwards. Alan was also Mayor of South Tyneside. in 2016 and 2017. Our sincere condolences have been conveyed to his family. Also, former councillor Joyce Phipps has also sadly died. Joyce served as a member for the Moncton Ward from 1979 to 1998 and served as Mayor of South Tyneside in 1994 to 1995. Can I also acknowledge the sad death of former Mayoress, Mrs. Alice Malcolm. Alice was the Mayoress of the Borough in 2006 to 2007. Can I please ask members to join me in a minute's silence? Thank you, colleagues. The next business is the appointment of the leader of the council. Councillor McCabe, I understand you're moving this.
Thank you, Deputy Madam Mayor. I nominate and propose that the leader of the council will be Councillor Tracy Dixon.
Thank you. Is that seconded? I understand Councillor Atkinson has seconded this motion.
Yeah, that's correct. Seconded,
Point
Chair.
of information, Madam Mayor, please.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Could I just say, in connection with the vote for the leader, I've spoken to the independent councillors and we've decided that we will be abstaining from the vote. Although Councillor Dixon has reached out since she became leader and she's stated publicly that she wants to work with the opposition, we do trust that she does want to do that, but because of the workload that she's obviously endured since she took over, none of that's come to fruition. Although we now have sort of direct contact with the leader when she isn't busy, we've got direct contact with the Chief Whip and other Labour councillors. We do look forward to working together in the future, and ideally by the time the next election comes, things will have happened and we'll have the confidence to vote in favour of Tracy Dixon. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Robertson. Are there any other nominations? No. If there are members who are abstaining, we then need to take a vote. Okay, can I ask the Commissioner to take the vote, please? So we're voting in favour of Councillor Dixon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. If members could let me know when I call their names out, whether they vote for, against, or whether they wish to abstain the nomination of Councillor Dixon as leader of the council. If members could get ready to unmute themselves and re-mute themselves after voting, that will help things move along. Thank you. Councillor Amar?
For.
Councillor Anglin?
For.
Councillor Atkinson?
For.
Councillor Bell?
For.
Councillor Boyack, has Councillor Boyack reconnected? Don't think he has. Councillor Brady? No. Councillor Carter?
For.
Councillor Dean?
For.
Councillor Dix?
For.
Councillor Dixon?
For.
Councillor Donaldson?
He's on mute.
I've just asked him to unmute. See if that works. Councillor Donaldson, if you could. Try and unmute.
No, John.
I'll move on. Councillor Duncan.
Sorry, Chair. 4.
Councillor Ellison.
4.
Councillor Flynn.
4.
Councillor Foreman.
4.
Councillor Francis.
Abstain.
Councillor Gibson.
4.
Councillor Hamilton.
4.
Councillor Hay.
4.
Councillor Hetherington.
4.
Councillor Hobson.
4.
Councillor Keegan.
4.
Councillor Kilgour.
4.
Councillor N. Maxwell.
4.
Councillor N.E. Maxwell.
4.
Councillor McCabe.
4.
Councillor McHugh.
4.
Councillor J. Milburn.
4.
Councillor P. Milburn.
I shall abstain. Thank you.
Councillor Peacock.
4.
Councillor Porthouse.
4.
Councillor Proudlock.
4.
Councillor Purvis.
4.
Councillor Roberts.
Abstain.
Councillor Robertson.
Abstain.
Councillor Sewell.
4.
Councillor Smith.
4.
Councillor Stevenson.
4.
Councillor Strike.
4.
Councillor Taylor.
4.
Councillor Thompson.
Abstain.
Councillor Traynor has just reconnected. Councillor Traynor. I'll come back to Councillor Traynor. She's just reconnected. Councillor A. Walsh.
4.
Councillor M. Walsh.
4.
Councillor Welsh.
4.
Councillor West.
4.
Councillor Traynor, I can't
It's
see you on my
4.
screen.
Yeah,
You're voting for.
I'm definitely here. I'm 4. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Donaldson.
Councillor Donaldson, yes.
Yes, I'm back on. Yes. 4.
Thank you. I think, save for Councillor Boyack, who I'm just looking for, I think that's everyone present. And I don't think Councillor Boyack is connected. I'm getting a shake of the head. If you could bear with me one moment. I'm just waiting for confirmation from colleagues who are better at maths than I am that my calculation of the vote is correct. Yes, thank you. The vote is 39 in favour and 5 abstaining. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Before I move to the appointment of committees, the leader wishes to advise members of the appointment she has made in relation to deputy leadership of the council and cabinet. Councillor Dixon.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. I want to take this opportunity to thank colleagues for appointing me to the position of leader. I am honoured to be taking the reins of this fantastic council, and I want you to know that I intend to do this and make sure that this position is used to drive positive change for our local communities. Of course, a leader is nothing without the right team. I'm glad to say that after some careful consideration, I've identified a cabinet who I have full confidence will be able to ensure that together we can really deliver for the people of South Tyneside. As such, I can confirm that I have appointed colleagues to the following positions in Cabinet. Councillor Joan Atkinson to the role of Deputy Leader with a portfolio of Culture and Leisure. Councillor John Anglin, Lead Member for Regeneration and Economy. Councillor Bell, Lead Member for Resources and Innovation. Councillor Ernest Gibson, Lead Member for Area Management and Community Safety. Councillor Anne Hetherington is Lead Member for Independence and Wellbeing. Councillor Moira Smith, Lead Member for Children, Young People and Families. And Councillor Mark Walsh is Lead Member for Housing and Transport. At this time, the portfolio for Voluntary Sector, Partnership and Cooperatives will remain vacant. I have great faith in the team of councillors who have joined me in the Cabinet. We are stepping into these positions at what continues to be a very challenging time as we respond to the difficulties of a further lockdown, and we also need to look ahead to the considerable economic and social recovery work on the horizon. However, despite the challenging context, I know between us, we have the experience, the in-depth knowledge of local communities and their needs, and the passion to lead this council well. While warmly welcoming the new Cabinet, Madam Deputy Mayor, into their new roles, I also wanted to point out and say a huge thank you to the two previous Cabinet members who have now retired for their diligent and passionate work while they sat in the previous Cabinet. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. The next business is to appoint a number of vacancies that have arisen on a number of committees and subcommittees of the Council, including also appointments to the vacancies of Chairman and Vice Chairman of committees and some outside organisations that have occurred during the current term of the Council. The vacancies are as a result of member resignations and sadly the death of an elected member. This list has been circulated to all members. Councillor Carter is to move these. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I move that the vacancies as indicated on the report circulated to members be approved. Thank you.
Point of information, Madam Mayor, could I speak? I think the residents of South Tyneside could be forgiven for misunderstanding why Councillor Malcolm has been removed from his Cabinet position as lead member for Resources and Innovation whilst being under internal investigation, but has been allowed to continue on the board of South Tyneside Homes. Possibly more clarity could have been added to agenda item 4 in relation to outside organisations today for clarity.
This item is not for discussion. Thank you very much. I take on your comments. Thank you. Is the motion agreed that we accept these, members?
Could I second that motion, please, Deputy Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
The next business is to consider a report of the Corporate Director, Business and Resources on the 221 to 222 Council tax base. I will ask Councillor Bell to formally move the report. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is the report for the Council tax base for 2021-2022. This report considers the Council's tax base for those years, and the tax base determines the level of expected annual income passed to the Council and major preceptors, such as the Police and Crime Commissioner and the Fire Authority, from a specified level of Council tax calculated on a Band D dwelling. The tax base figure for 2021-22 is calculated from current dwelling numbers in each council tax band, estimated number of exemptions, discounts, and net additions to the housing stock over the coming year. The figure must also take into account an estimate for non-collection. The council must, by law, set a tax base for the forthcoming financial year and inform precepting authorities of the calculated number of Band D equivalent dwellings before the 31st of January. It is therefore recommended that the tax base for 2021-22 be agreed as 38,706 as detailed in the report. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Is that seconded?
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Thanks to all of those involved in the preparation of this report. I know a lot of work and careful consideration goes into these things. As South Tynesyde's first Green Party councillor, it's probably no surprise that I'm a big fan of recycling. And on that note, I'm going to reuse some comments that I made last January tonight because they're still true and in fact truer than ever. As I said last year, I applaud the fact that this council is still supporting care leavers, keeping them exempt from paying council tax up to the age of 25. Despite increasingly squeezed budgets, we continue to support these young people and do our best to give them the best possible chance for a positive start to their adult lives, and this really should be celebrated. Last January, I also spoke of the local government funding crisis that is damaging our communities. Despite being one of the world's richest countries, the money that the government allocates to councils has been cut and cut year on year, with South Tyneside being one of the hardest hit in the country, and that's before we were hit by the coronavirus pandemic. 40% of councils now face a funding cut for 2021 and 22, even though they are hundreds of millions of pounds out of pocket because of COVID-19. We now know that the government will not cover the full local costs caused by the pandemic, and the outcome of this is likely to be higher council tax bills and cuts to services. As a nearby council leader recently said, the government's slogan for 2021 could potentially be pay more and get less. In order to continue providing services, councils are forced to meet this shortfall somehow and often have no option but to pass those costs on to residents who are already feeling squeezed. And despite the pandemic, there is money out there. It just isn't going where it's needed most. The pandemic has made that need even more urgent, and we must make sure that local services get support from the taxes that should be being collected from national and multinational corporations. Some of the big businesses that have thrived through the pandemic simply aren't paying their fair share. And in a year where Amazon's profits went up more than 35%, their tax bill only went up by 3%, and that simply can't be right. Central government must provide resources over and above those raised locally through council tax. We've got a deeply flawed system, and we need to keep fighting for fair taxation and fair funding for local government. It's needed now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Does anyone else wish to speak to the report? No. Right. Legislation requires that a name vote is taken on certain decisions relating to the setting of the budget, including the calculation of the council tax fees. I will therefore ask the Head of Legal Services to conduct the vote.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Again, members, if you could be ready to unmute yourselves when I call your name out and indicate whether you are for, against, or would wish to abstain. Councillor Amar?
For.
Councillor Anglin?
For.
Councillor Atkinson?
For.
Councillor Bell?
For.
Councillor Boyack? I will come back to, as I know he's been dropping in and out of the meeting. Councillor Brady? I think the same applies to Councillor Brady, so I will come back. Councillor Carter?
For.
Councillor Dean?
For.
Councillor Dix?
For.
Councillor Dixon?
For.
Councillor Donaldson?
For.
Councillor Duncan?
For.
Councillor Ellison?
For.
Councillor Flynn?
For.
Councillor Foreman?
For.
Councillor Francis?
For.
Councillor Gibson?
For.
Councillor Hamilton?
For.
Councillor Hay?
For.
Councillor Hetherington?
For.
Councillor Hobson?
For.
Councillor Keegan?
For.
Councillor Kilgour?
For.
Councillor N. Maxwell?
For.
Councillor N.E. Maxwell?
For.
Councillor McCabe?
For.
Councillor McHugh?
For.
Councillor J. Milburn? You may have been muted without your knowledge to reduce feedback.
Four.
Thank you. Councillor P. Milburn.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Peacock.
4.
Councillor Porthouse.
4.
Councillor Proudlock.
4.
Councillor Purvis.
4.
Councillor Roberts.
4.
Councillor Robertson.
4.
Councillor Sewell.
4.
Councillor Smith.
4.
Councillor Stevenson.
4.
Councillor Strike.
4.
Councillor Taylor.
4.
Councillor Thompson.
4.
Councillor Traynor.
4.
Councillor A. Walsh.
4.
Councillor M. Walsh.
4.
Councillor Welsh.
4.
And Councillor West.
4. Can you hear me?
Yes, who's that?
Sorry. West. Alan West.
Yes,
4.
I've got your vote. Councillor Brady, I think you connected. Is Councillor Brady on, or has he gone again? And Councillor Boyack. I'll just check with a colleague to see whether Councillor Boyack is on. Not. I don't think Councillor Brady and Boyack are connected. If you bear with me one moment. There are 44 votes in favour, and other than those elected members who aren't present, there are 2 members from whom we didn't get a vote. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, colleagues. The motion is agreed. The next business is to consider a report of the Corporate Director, Business and Resources on the Treasury Management Mid-Year Review as of 30th of September 2020. I will ask Councillor Bell to formally move the report. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. The Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy Code of Practice on Treasury Management requires Council to receive a mid-year report on Treasury Management. This report covers the period from the 1st of April 2020 to the 30th of September 2020. The 6-month period was dominated by the COVID-19 pandemic and the concerns this has had on the health and well-being of the nation and the consequential impact on the economy. During the period, no new Public Works Loan Board, the PWLB loans, were taken. There were maturities totaling £10 million which were repaid. The report notes that the activity during the period was controlled within the Treasury and prudential limits as set out in the Treasury Management Strategy, and the income and expenditure is broadly in line with budget expectations. Council is therefore recommended to note this report. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. That's seconded.
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 Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson.
Thank you. I've noted that South Tyneside Homes is an outside body they refer to in this document, but there's no mention of South Tyneside Housing Ventures Trust or Centauria Homes, bearing in mind they are part of the council's group accounts. I can't understand why they're missing. Can anyone explain, please?
Okay. Councillor Bell, are you able to answer that question, or do you want to send a written reply to Councillor Robertson? Councillor Bell, I've lost you.
May have lost her action. This is her back now, so just a moment. Just letting her back in. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Bell's back on. I don't know if you want to repeat that question for
Councillor Bell, I'm not sure whether you heard the question because the technology obviously failed you. Did you hear the question from Councillor Robertson? Councillor Bell? Obviously a problem with the technology.
Madam Deputy Mayor, it's Councillor Mark Walsh.
Yes.
I think just to clarify, South Tyneside Homes isn't an outside body, but it is the council's arm's length management organisation that manages the council's housing stock. South Tyneside Ventures, of which the council is the sole shareholder, is an independent registered provider of social housing. Centauria Homes, of which the council is the sole shareholder, is a private company. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you for that.
Can I respond?
Does that answer your question, Councillor Robertson?
Yeah, can I respond to Councillor Walsh, please?
You can.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh, I'm sure the Montalovs will confirm South Tyneside Homes is our Almo, but it is an outside body, which is why Councillor Malcolm gets £10,000 on top of his cabinet money, otherwise he couldn't get 2 SRAs. I'm sure the Montalovs will agree.
We'll take that up in another place. I'm sure that's already been taken up. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Robertson. Madam
Mayor, I haven't had a response of Councillor Bell. I understand that. Could we ask Stuart Reid to give us a response, the finance gentleman, please?
Yes, I'm sure that can be arranged. We'll have a written response given to you from Stuart Reid. Thank you, Councillor Robertson.
Why not now?
Yeah. I don't know whether Mr. Reid is on this.
Yes.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, yeah, happy to respond. The reason for inclusion of South Tyneside Homes is that the council do manage the transactions, the treasury management transactions on behalf of South Tyneside Homes, and therefore that information is included within the report. We manage those same transactions on behalf of Centauria Homes or Housing Ventures.
Thank you. Councillor Bell is back into the meeting. Councillor Bell, did you understand? Did you get the question?
No, I didn't, Madam Deputy Mayor, and obviously my iPad keeps sending me out and sending me back in. If Councillor Robertson still wishes to have an answer to the question, if he would email me to it, I will make sure that I do respond to him. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Madam Mayor, this is the first full council meeting for a year. I would like to ask the lead member the question, please, because she never heard it.
Right, okay, if you can repeat the question, then she can respond to you. Okay, could you repeat the question then? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bell, in the papers, it refers to South Tyneside Homes, financial matters, but there's no mention whatsoever of South Tyneside Housing Ventures Trust or Centauria Homes, yet them too are included within the council's annual accounts as part of the group accounts. Could you explain why there's no reference to them in here, please?
Chair, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of any reason as to why. Obviously, I will get Councillor Robertson a full response to that question. I really don't know the answer to the question he's asking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You'll get a written response, Councillor Robertson. Okay. I also have Councillor Francis wishes to speak.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'd like to start by just recognising and applauding the efforts of council staff and council colleagues in preparing this report, which obviously it's an unenviable task given the current financial climate. And again, I make no apologies for recycling some things that I've previously said at full council meetings here. This report says that there are no environmental or sustainability implications, but I'm not sure that's 100% correct. I believe that the Tyne and Wear Pension Fund, which we administer, still invests in fossil fuels. And aside from the obvious financial impacts of that, aside from the very real environmental impacts of that, there are also financial concerns for this sector. Last January, I quoted warnings from Unison and from Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England, about the potential for those stocks to fall. We know that in recent years, pension funds that have divested from fossil fuels have financially outperformed those that remain invested in fossil fuels. Since I last spoke on this, I've seen it reported that 375 million was wiped off the Greater Manchester Pension Fund over a 3-year period due to its oil and gas investments. And that's the equivalent to over £1,000 loss per pension member. Surely now is the time for us to take real action on this, to protect the financial future of our pensions, to live up to our climate change commitments, and to stop investing in fossil fuels.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Unfortunately, the chair of the Pensions Committee, Councillor Leask, isn't available at this meeting because of illness. Perhaps we can get you a reply to that from the officers involved. Councillor Hamilton, sorry.
Oh, sir, come in, Deputy Mayor. It's Councillor Boyd. Managed to get back in again.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Councillor Boyack. Councillor Hamilton, you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. My question, which I'm going to put, first of all, congratulations, Councillor Bell, on your cabinet appointment. I appreciate all the hard work that you and officers have put into producing this report. I'd also quickly like to say thank you to all the officers who've arranged this meeting today. I think it's important to pass that on. But my question, I don't expect you to be able to answer this evening because it's something that's only recently come to my attention. So what I'd like to ask for is a written answer to my question. And it's to do with future financing as much as what's in the report. I've recently been made aware that organisations known as real estate investment trusts have started to invest in specialist supported housing, working with housing associations and in some cases local authorities. They fund the development of specialist supported housing and asylum seeker accommodation, and they then lease those properties back to the local authority or the housing association. The problem is they then take 79 pence of the housing benefit out of every pound that is paid. They're targeting these types of developments because of there's no benefit cap on specialist supported housing. That leaves the housing associations, the local authority or the charities with only 21 pence out of every pound, not only to manage the housing, but also to provide the specialist support needed, often to people with learning disabilities. What I'd like to know, and as I say, I don't expect you to answer this now, is if as a local authority we have been approached by any of these real estate investment trusts, and if we have a position on real estate investment trusts and working with them for to deliver specialist supported housing. My personal opinion is that we shouldn't, because the majority of the funding goes back to investors and shareholders and isn't used to support those involved. So if we haven't got a position, I'd like to ask that we could look into real estate investment trusts and going forward bring a position on that to council for decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. I'm sure Councillor Bell will give you a written reply.
Can I come in here,
Chair, can I just...
Councillor Boyack.
Councillor Boyack?
Yes, I don't know what happened to this machine I've got here, but it went off dead. Now, I was supposed to declare an interest at the beginning of the meeting regarding the leadership. Councillor Dixon, who's my daughter. Do I need to read this out to get back on the committee?
That's all right, Councillor Boyack. The solicitor of the council read out your declaration of interest in your absence.
Oh, that's fine. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Bell.
Chair, just a couple of points. If I could go back to Councillor Francis. I mean, obviously, the concerns that he's raised, I will obviously look into, and we will take his comments on board. And for Councillor Hamilton, I'm not at this moment in time aware of any approach from the real estate investment trusts, but I will check that out for her and get her a written report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson indicated to speak.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just an observation. I see Councillor Bell made it very clear that there was a period where we hadn't made any loans from the Public Works Loan Board, and also made it very clear how much we'd repaid to the board. But I think on balance, possibly we should have shown, for the benefit of residents, the amount that is outstanding in loans to the Public Works Loan Board. Thank you.
Councillor Bell, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, Chair, that has been taken on board, and if possible, I would let Councillor Thompson know what those details are. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.
Deputy Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Is the motion agreed? I have no more speakers. Agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. The next business is to consider a report of the Corporate Director, Regeneration and Environment on the Licensing Act 2003, Statement of Policy 2021 to 2026. I will ask Councillor Gibson to formally move the report. Councillor Gibson.
Thanks, Madam Deputy Mayor, and thank you. The local authority is required by law to publish a statement of licence policy, and it must be revised, the policy, at least every 5 years. The policy of statement sets out the council's approach and its responsibilities under the Act, and it gives guidance to applicants and objectors and interested parties in the licensing matters. And it is used as a guide for officers and members to make a decision. The proposed policy for 2021 to 2026 is an appendix on page 19 to 97. The key changes to the policy are on paragraph 7 of the report. It includes stronger public health message, deregulations and changes introductory since the last revision, suspension of licence for non-payment. It requires changes in accordance with Immigration Act and retention of impact areas in South Shields Town Centre. The council, can I ask the council to agree the revised Licensing Act policy for South Tyneside as set out in Appendix 1 of the report, pages 19 to 97.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Is there any, are there any questions, or does anyone wish to speak to the report? I'm scanning the screen and I can't see anyone. Okay, is the motion agreed?
Agreed.
The next business is to receive questions under Procedure Rule 8. No questions have been received under this rule. The next business is to deal with petitions received under Council Procedure Rule 9. 2 petitions have been received by the Chief Executive's Office towards the end of 2020. These were accepted as valid petitions, and whilst they've been placed on this agenda of Council as the appropriate next Council meeting, they have both already been referred to the appropriate body and will not be debated today. Petition 1 was the implementation of a safe crossing on Galsworthy Road, South Shields. The petition has 535 total signatories and 381 signatories from the Borough. Petition 2, no to the proposed tile sheds flyover South Tyneside. The petition has 3,395 total signatories and 937 of those signatories are from the Borough. I confirm that the petitions have been referred to the appropriate officers for consideration. Is that agreed?
Agreed. Deputy Mayor.
Just a point of information, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Councillor
This
Francis.
isn't really a question in relation to either of those petitions specifically, but my understanding from the Constitution is that when a petition is accepted by full council like this, there ought to be some reporting back in the subsequent full council meeting. So presumably we'll be hearing what progress has been made and what the decision of the appropriate bodies that these have been referred to at the meeting in February. Just wanted to check that, double check that.
What normally happens is they go to committee, the appropriate committee, and then when that committee is met, then a report from that committee comes to the full council.
Constitution says it should come to the next full council meeting, is my understanding.
Well, we'll take note of that, because my understanding would have to go to committee first, because the flyover at tile sheds, for instance, hasn't been to committee, and if it doesn't go to committee, we've got nothing to answer. If there's no planning application being submitted, so that would be difficult to report back at the next committee if nothing had happened on that one.
Well, even if the action is simply that it's been referred to a specific committee, that's fine.
Well, it has. I mean, that's what we're reporting today, that it's been referred to refers to a committee. So that's the process for today. Okay, we'll wait in interest and see if it appears on the next council committee. Okay, well, I note your comments. Okay, thank you. The next business is to receive motions under Procedure Rule 10. One motion is to be considered under this rule. I'll explain the procedure for motions. I will ask the proposer of each motion to move the motion, and she may speak up to 5 minutes. I will then ask whether the motion is seconded. The seconder may speak up for up to 3 minutes or reserve the right to speak later in the debate. The motion will then be open to debate by members who may each speak for up to 3 minutes and may move amendments. Motion 1 has been submitted by Councillors Walsh, Hetherington, Boyack, Anglin and Ellison. Councillor M. Walsh, please present the motion.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, for the opportunity to present this motion to Council. Madam Deputy Mayor, I would like to propose this motion to Borough Council to support Armed Services Commonwealth veterans so that their service to this country is recognised and that they are given the right to UK citizenship and other support, such as access to NHS treatment that should be rightly theirs. During the First World War, 3 million Commonwealth citizens volunteered to serve in the British Armed Services. Of these, 440,000 were casualties. In the Second World War, a further 4.5 million Commonwealth citizens volunteered to serve in the British Armed Services. Of these, 360,000 were casualties. Commonwealth citizens from the Indian subcontinent, the Far East, South Africa and the wider African continent, Australia, New Zealand and the Caribbean have volunteered to serve the United Kingdom throughout the years to more recent conflicts in the Middle East like Iraq and Afghanistan. Today, there are over 6,000 Commonwealth citizens serving in the UK Armed Services, with the government aiming to recruit a further 1,400 for specialist and technical roles. So how does the UK government reward these dedicated Commonwealth citizens who serve the country but don't have UK citizenship when they're discharged from active service? They have to pay over £2,000 for an individual visa to remain in the UK. They have no automatic right to settle in the UK, even though they have risked their lives for this nation. They cannot access NHS services, with one Fijian ex-serviceman having to raise £30,000 for life-saving brain tumour operation and treatment on the NHS because he was not able to access NHS services for free. As well as this motion today, Madam Deputy Mayor, which has been supported by many other local authorities across the country, there is also an online petition to Parliament to support Commonwealth veterans, which I would urge members to support. Madam Deputy Mayor, I urge Council to support the motion and to press the UK Government to enshrine in law the right of Commonwealth veterans who have served a minimum of 4 years the automatic right to remain in the UK, and any Commonwealth veteran who completes 12 years or more of service be granted automatic British citizenship. And that as a consequence, these veterans have free access to essential services such as NHS treatment. Madam Deputy Mayor, I commend this motion to Council. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
I understand Councillor Ellison is seconding this motion.
I am.
Councillor Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This evening, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to second this motion, calling on our council to make the representations to national government in support of Commonwealth veterans serving at the request of the UK government, defending our nation in armed conflicts around the world. This motion before us this evening asks the Leader of the Council to make representations on our behalf to ministers and members of Parliament, recognising the injustice faced by Commonwealth veterans at the hands of government policy. Madam Deputy Mayor, we owe a debt of gratitude to Commonwealth veterans who've answered the call of our government to defend our nation. At present, almost 6,000 individuals from across the Commonwealth serve in UK armed forces. In 2018, the government sought to increase Commonwealth representation in our armed forces from roughly 200 people per year to almost 1,300 people per year. Commonwealth veterans have served as active members of our armed forces for decades, from World War II to conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yet in their retirement from the branch of service, those individuals are often lost in a system of bureaucracy, left without healthcare, without automatic leave to remain in the UK, but unable to take up alternative employment. Held in wait here in the UK made to return to their home elsewhere in the globe. The immigration fees often significantly prohibitive for those servicemen and women who are often a relatively junior rank. Madam Deputy Mayor, a Commonwealth service leaver with a partner and 2 children can expect to pay in the region of £10,000 to continue living in the UK. Whilst they wait for leave to be given or citizenship granted, if they fall ill, they are hit with significant bills from the NHS, unable to take up employment to contribute to the society that they've been so proud to serve. Almost 500 individuals are affected by this shameful policy every year. Veterans from Fiji, South Africa and other Commonwealth nations with no choice but return to the birth country because they're unable to navigate a complex and unfair immigration system. landed with a significant debt because of long waits, lack of formal status, and an inability to meet NHS costs owing to their immigration status. People who've been placed on who've placed their own lives on the line for our country. Madam Deputy Mayor, we can do better than this. Commonwealth veterans have earned this, they're entitled to this, but the government policy pushes veterans to drain their savings just to get permission to stay. In 2018, Charles Byrne, Royal British Legion Director General, said of these veterans that they've left their homeland and given years of loyal service to the United Kingdom. They should be able to continue living in the UK with their families without incurring significant financial cost. This is a poor way of saying thank you to people we've encouraged to leave their countries and come to serve in the British Armed Forces, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I encourage other colleagues to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ellison. The motion is now open to debate. Do any members wish to ask a question or speak or move an amendment? No.
There are two hands.
Oh, Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I wasn't planning to speak on this actually tonight, but I just wanted to say I definitely applaud the intention behind this motion and fully support that. Something just occurred to me. I'm not an expert in this because I'm not from a forces background myself. My understanding is that the sort of minimum length of service changed in the late 90s. From 3 years to 4 years. And obviously the intention of this motion seems to be that anyone who had served their full minimum term, you know, would not fall through the cracks. I just wondered if, and bearing in mind that it's not in our power to actually decide this, this is just asking the, you know, the council to write to the government, would we consider as a friendly amendment changing the 4 years to 3 years?
Councillor Hamilton, you wish to speak?
Yes, I felt I had to speak on this. My father was served in Burma during World War II. And although my father died before I was born, so I didn't meet him, I know how, from the photographs and the stories I was told, just how important it was for him and others that they served alongside Commonwealth forces and forces from other countries as well, not within the Commonwealth. So I, like others, wholeheartedly support this motion. But there was something a story I just wanted to make people aware of that I found today when I was looking at this motion, and it's about a little girl called Gracie Ann Kelly. She's 10-year-old and her father is a Commonwealth soldier and he served bravely. But when he left the army, he went back to his to where he was born. She has the right to stay here as she is a British citizen. He didn't apply immediately because he didn't know he had to apply for a right to remain because it's not made common. And by the time he did apply, it was too late and it was turned down. She now hasn't seen her father for 6 years because he can't afford the money to go through the appeals and the judicial reviews, so that a man who served bravely in Afghanistan and Iraq on behalf of our country can't come here to see his daughter. Now, my father served and my father would not have wanted that to happen. It's only right and proper that we pass this. The Royal British Legion also have a campaign and they are using the hashtag Stop the Service Charge, which is to stop servicemen and women being charged for this. And what I'd like to ask is that people take to social media and share what the Royal British Legion have got using that hashtag Stop the Service Charge, because these men and women should not be forced away from this country, and those children who are born here and are entitled to stay should not be denied the right to live with and see their parents because they can't afford to pay for the money to give them the right to stay. So please support the motion, and please also make sure that everybody out there knows that we do support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. I've got Councillor Jeff Milburn, I've got Councillor Duncan. Councillor Jeff Milburn. See there? Whilst Councillor Jeff Milburn's getting himself sorted out, we'll have Councillor Duncan.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Councillor Francis mentioned that he wasn't involved with the forces when he made his comments earlier, and therefore he wasn't really involved in this kind of thing at all. But I would also repeat that. I mean, I'm not anything to do with services. I've never been in the forces, but I don't think you have to be in the forces to support this kind of motion. I think Councillor Walsh, who introduced it, spoke very, very well and very, very clearly. It's simply, I don't think this is a matter of the force. I think it's a matter of people having rights that should be automatically afforded, and that we're waiting an awfully long time, you know, talking about the Second World War, and these people are still having problems. So I would certainly support this, not just because, of course, they have indeed served us very well and fought very, very strongly for us, but also, of course, that this is a matter of common sense and decency, that we should allow these people, and I think it's long overdue. I'm very pleased that this motion has been put in today, and I firmly support the people who have moved and seconded it, Chair. Just
Thank
a comment.
you, Councillor Duncan. Councillor Jeff Milburn, do you still wish to speak?
Yes, I agree. I agree with what's been said. I know over the past, let's not draw political lines here. People who've helped and supported the UK in all sorts of wars and all sorts of campaigns should be allowed citizenship in this country. It's unfair. It's just, I can't believe it. Where you have people who've been interpreters in Afghanistan, in Iraq, they've served for our country, they've helped our troops, and they won't allow them to have citizenship in the UK. If they get sent back to where they came from, you know what's going to happen there. I think we should support this, and we need to support the people who help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milburn. Before I ask Councillor Francis if he wishes to make a formal amendment, I'll ask Councillor Walsh if he would like the right of the reply to the debate.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. And thanks to colleagues and members for supporting this motion, and to Councillor Ellison for seconding the motion. I think just in terms of Councillor Francis' motion, I understand where amendments where he's coming from. Like you, Councillor Francis, I've got no service background either, and I'm actually just following the Royal British Legion and other similar ex-service organisations, and their line, and I know that other local authorities who've passed a similar motion have gone down the same sort of duration of time. So whilst I appreciate the amendment and the proposal, I would prefer that we keep the motion the way that it stands for the moment, so that it's consistent with the messages from other services organisations across the country. Thanks, that's all I'd like to say, Deputy Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Francis, do you wish to withdraw your amendment and leave the motion as it stands, in line with the Royal British Legion's?
Yeah, I mean, having heard that, I'm happy to take the take my cue from those with far more experience of this than myself, and withdraw that suggestion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Therefore, the motion stands as it is. Is it agreed?
Agreed.
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 Thank you very much. That concludes the business for today's meeting. The live streaming will now cease. Can I thank you all for your attendance, and can I take this opportunity to thank any members of the public who've been watching today? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.